All right, so we're recording. So today we're going to go over, I created something, gosh, back in 2020 when I first started, about moving from paper and pencil to online tools. And mainly that's focusing around the online quiz feature that My Neosho has to offer. And so I kind of revamped it or added a few things, but mainly going over the same things as I did back then, and kind of refreshing our memory on all the options that we have with our online assignment feature. So how many of you use the online exam feature? I think we all do. We all use it, so it's great. This is just going to, if you guys have something that I don't cover, make sure you chime in and let me know that it's something that might be a little bit different or better. Can you see my screen right here, the lunch bite screen? Okay, good. All right, so first things first, because I know we have a newbie, so I'm going to go to coursework and we're just going to kind of go into the assignment options for the online test format. So I went to coursework and then I went to add an assignment, and we're going to choose this first top one. That's the online test format. Just like any other assignment, we've got the details here with the name, the unit. I'm not going to go over that part. That part's the same across the board. So that's in a different lunch bites, but we're going to come down to the assignment options. A lot of the time, these options don't get changed. And so then we have some confusion whenever we get into grading or reviewing and stuff like that. And so I always try to go back and check and make sure that my options are set to what I want. So my biggest mess up or forget for my students is to change the students can view their test as soon as the due date passes and it's fully graded, or any of these other options, like immediately after each attempt. So if it's something that I want them to be able to review and try again, obviously this is not going to work because they can't wait till the due date to be able to review it and try again. So I have to come in here and change it to immediately after each attempt. I use that whenever we're doing reviews that are kind of like an assignment. It's actually not a quiz. It's just a review to keep their knowledge and prepare them for exams and stuff like that. So I use the immediately after each attempt on that one. As soon as they turn it in, that's pretty much the same thing, except that you have to push the button that says turn it in for them to see that. And then as soon as a specific date passes, so if you click on that, then you get to choose that. So let's say they have 2 weeks to take this quiz, but you'll let them see the quiz after 1 week has gone by. And they still have to, it's not the due date, it's just a certain date that they have to get to first. As soon as it's fully graded, so even if you get it graded before the due date, they can see it. And if it's a multiple choice or true false or something that's auto graded, obviously that's going to be right after they complete the quiz. And then we have just the as soon as the due date passes, and then we have the generated one that's the due date and the fully graded. And then we also have the lovely option of never. So I don't know who that benefits, but it's on there. And maybe that's a situation where it's a quiz that you don't want them to have access to after they've completed. They just need to know their score. That's totally, it just depends on the level of exam that you have. I could understand that being in a nursing situation where you don't want them to have access to their quizzes, which would be a completely different situation. So I'm going to actually change that right there. So it takes away that box. Show students the correct answers. So, right, it's defaulted to only after the due date. Anytime they can review the test, and never, which actually I feel like should be the default. But we have those 3 options. And for me, when I'm doing my reviews, or if it's an assignment and not a quiz or an exam, I do anytime they can review the test. So that way my reviews are, they're learning as they're taking them. Show students all questions they did not receive full credit on. So these are great options. I like that they can go back and see what they did not complete correctly and know what they need to work on. Turn off all test review access. So this is awesome. So you can say it's due on whatever, it's going to be available for you to review on this day, but you only have 3 days to review it before you don't have that access anymore. I actually didn't even know this was an option until like a year ago. And this is so good for my final exam reviews, because I want them to review it well before the final. And so I give them their final exam review. They have until like Wednesday to review it, or to take it and take it over and over and over. And then they can only review it until 1 day before the final. So they're not cramming the day before. And you can hide the answers during the review as well. Let's see, auto grade, automatically assign a grade of 0 to students who do not take the test before the due date passes. I do check that a lot because that keeps it from me having to go in and put the 0 in. I really like that feature. It's an awesome feature. Time limit, obviously we have minutes defaulted, but you can do hours and days. For however long you want to give them on this assignment, exam, or quiz. Pagination, 1 session per page, 1 question per page, 5 questions per page, or all on 1 page. So the sections are going to be, we'll see those in the actual test builder. So let's say you have sections that have 5 questions per section. Those would all show up on 1 page. 1 question per page. As long as you have everything randomized, which is the next option, it's actually a lot easier or a lot harder for them to cheat if you have 1 question per page and the questions are randomized, because then they're all going to see different questions as they're going through, even when they're sitting right next to each other studying. So that's a good option, 1 question per page. And then sometimes for like my reviews and stuff, I don't really care. I want it to be all on 1 page so they can go through and they can review and like decide whether or not, this answer needs to go down here instead of up here. Just depends on the format or what kind of quiz or test or assignment you're wanting to use that for. Shuffle sections. And I guess this actually doesn't pertain to just questions individually. That's going to be done in the test builder, but this does shuffle the sections. So if you have more than 1 section, then they'll get a different section than the other students. Lock students out if they leave the test screen. This is awesome for those students that like to Google the questions. It's a little bit harder for them to do that because if they leave the screen, looks like we have lightning in the area. Keep getting notifications on my phone and in my email. So it locks the screen, it locks the students out if they leave the screen. So if they push the back button or anything and they click anywhere they shouldn't be going on that page, then it will lock them out. And we also down further have the option for lockdown browser where they can't have any other window open at all on their computer. There's a couple tricks to the using lockdown browser, which is down here. Like Chromebooks don't work with lockdown browser. And if there's any kind of pop-up blocker open on their setting on their browser, then it won't let the lockdown browser open. So it can get a little tricky with lockdown browser, and I definitely recommend meeting with me before you use it, just because we can walk through some scenarios and have an example test and stuff for the students to go through before the real deal.
Maggie, Can you explain maybe I'm not getting the difference between locking them out of when they try to leave the test screen and what lockdown browser does?
Yes, I did not explain it very well. So if right now, if you have this deselected, both of them deselected, if the students get 30 minutes to take a test and they, let's say their computer closes or their website, they go somewhere else on the website, they accidentally click over here or something when they were supposed to be clicking on the test, they should be able to get back into that exam as long as it's within that 30 minutes that they had to take it. If this is checked and they go away from it, then it locks them out. It auto shuts it down. This one, the lockdown browser, and on this one, let me go back, I'm sorry. On this one, they can have other applications open. They just can't move away from this page. On the lockdown browser, they can't have anything else open. So that one really secures you from them going to Google, like on, let's say I have this open on Chrome, but I could open up Firefox if I don't have this selected. But if I do have this selected, you cannot have anything else open. So it's just a little more secure, which adds a lot more.
So if you had lockout selected but not lockdown browser, they could have two like minimized screens open and never leave the test screen but see the other screen up. Is that, am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So they can still find whatever they're looking for. They just can't go away from their page. Good question. But yeah, like I said, with lockdown browser, if that's something you're interested in using, let me know and I can help you with that so we can get the kinks worked out before the students need to use it for real. Allowing better than perfect scores. So on anything that you manually grade on these exams or quizzes, it will allow you to put in more than what the actual points are worth. Security, this is nice I use this for my actual in-person face-to-face class. So our final has a password on it and they can only access this exam if they come to class and get the password. I believe Dr. Gardner also uses this for her proctored exams. So the students have to get the proctor has to contact Dr. Gardner and Dr. Gardner gives them the password and they log in for the student. Just another security option. I guess I didn't realize there was two different Respondus lockdown browser options here. They have when they're taking the test, and then the one I was clicking on before is for reviewing the completed test. So that's kind of nice too. So they're not able to, I mean, they could probably still take a screenshot, I would assume, but they wouldn't be able to open anything else while they have the quiz open in lockdown browser.
Maggie, can I ask, does the Respondus work with the thin clients in the testing labs?
I don't know.
I know at one time there was some kind of conflict, and so I just didn't know if that was ever resolved.
There's always something with Respondus, but you said thin clients
That are in 701, 702, and maybe 605. I don't know for sure. I think that's where I think that's where they are.
I will check. For sure.
On
I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on down, retakes. This lets students retake the test. Obviously the default is 0, but you can change it to unlimited. You also have up to 4 or unlimited. Like I said before, when I do my reviews, it's unlimited. They can take it over and over and over until they feel comfortable with it or with their score. but it is defaulted to 0 like a traditional test. These retakes are used to automatically give all students multiple attempts. You can always give your students an additional attempt on your own, and we'll look at that here in a little bit. So, you know, when they come to you and say, I failed, and I need another attempt, you can go to that individual student and you can give them more time if you would like. And then you can also put a restriction on how often they can do it. So if you don't want them retaking it right after, so take a test, fail it, take a test, fail it, you can require them to take a break for 30 minutes. I believe we have hours and days here. So they can only take the test once a day. You can say that. And I believe that means that the button for them to retake won't appear until that time has elapsed. So show in progress grade updates. That's while they're taking their tests, they can see, I believe, I've never actually tested this. They should be able to see how they're doing. I'm gonna have to write that down. I've never actually tested that. Have you, any of you used that before? No.
The students like it when they're doing those retakes so they can see how well that they did before they decide, nah, I don't want to take it again or whatever.
So it's in progress grade, like they're like you've got 2 out of 2 correct. That's what it's showing them. Oh, that's awesome. I've never used that. That's really, really cool. Oh, it says it right here. I should read. When taken more than one time, the final grade for the assignment should be, and this is where you can, I don't know why the default is average of all grades received. Most of the time I come in here and this is one of those things I forget to change. I change it to highest grade received because the whole reason why we're taking it over and over for my class is to get a better grade. Sometimes if it's a big exam, you're letting them take it a second time to average together and get a different score. And then obviously we have last grade received. So they may do worse on the second one, but that's the score that they get to have. And then the next 2 things I'm not going to talk about again, because those are the same thing as all of their other assignments, instructions and files. And then our assignment outcomes, same thing. Real quick, I think, actually, I'm just going to go to another, instead of creating one, I'm going to go to another quiz I have here and go to the test builder. Let's see. Anybody have any questions on that before we move too much further? Kind of sped through that. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. So I'm going to go to more and then the test builder. So we can add our own questions here, or we can import. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Oh, I forgot that we have the view printable version. This is also really handy if you want to create it in class, online and use it in class. You can do that. But we can add a question in a section. We can add a section. So we're just gonna, we already have a section here. Let's see what it looks like to add one. We have the option for section name, any kind of directions you want for that section. And you can do random selection from the pool of questions. So you could have 50 questions, but only 25 of them are going to be pulled through. And you can choose that right here, how many points for each question. We've got a time limit for each section. Now this can get a little hairy sometimes. We've had some complications with this. We have to remember that if we have a time limit on the whole entire assignment, that's different than the time limit on each section. So I don't actually ever mess with the section time limits just because of that, because it makes me nervous that somewhere it's not going to line up or I'm going to forget that I did it. kids are going to get locked out of their quiz and be like, hey, I didn't get to an hour. I was only in there for 20 minutes, or 25 minutes, but you only had 20 minutes on this section. It can get a little bit confusing. So I usually leave that blank, but it is an option if you would like to use it. You also have the option to make a section strictly extra credit. So that's kind of nice too. Any questions about the sections? No? Okay. Add a question. Okay, so question label, I actually don't fill that out. I try to explain that question labels, it says right here, is not shown to students, but also just make sure that like where your question text this is where you want to ask your question, the question text. So this is where the question goes. You can obviously choose a file here if you would like, or you can add a picture here in the text editor. You can also add links and stuff like that in your question. You also, for any of you math people, can add equations. Dr. Gardner loved this feature. I'm not a math person, so I don't ever use that. You can choose a point value for each question. You can obviously here again, make it extra credit. And then here are our choices. Again, equation, essay, this is going to be manually graded. Why is it not populating? Okay. Matching, there we go. This is where you can choose what criterion goes in each matching field, and then it will automatically grade for you. You can obviously put some unmatched distractors in there as well. Randomize objects, so it's different for each student. Randomize matches, and the partial credit filter matches. Each item in the match menu will only be shown once. That's kind of nice. Partial credit. So this doesn't work the way we wanted it to. I believe it was with nursing, but I can't remember. Pam, is that right? Okay. We have different visions of how this should work compared to Genzabar. And so if you ever want to use partial credit on any of these options, multiple choice, matching, true, false, get with me and I will help you figure it out to make it work for you, or we'll just not use partial credit at all. They said they were going to work on that for a future upgrade, but we'll see. Multiple choice. Oh, I forgot. You can add feedback for each answer. So let's say they got the correct one and you wanted to say, you know, good work or whatever. And then let's say these other three options, they are the incorrect answer, but you can give them a little bit of feedback on why that's the wrong answer. I think that's a great feature. You also have option here to add pictures and stuff like that to your answers. Here's your all of the above and none of the above. And then you have these randomized partial credit and limit selections. Oh, right. So students are told how many correct options there are and must select that many. They cannot select more or fewer options than are indicated. So if I had 2 correct answers chosen here, they would have to choose 2 to go to the next question. Any questions on those first couple that we looked at? No? Okay. Ordering, I wish I had examples of each of these questions already created. I didn't think about doing that so you could see what the student sees. But ordering, they'll just literally click and drag and order it into whatever order they think it should be. Again, you have the feedback option, and then you have the partial credit option. short answer, you can have, they have to, oh, I didn't even realize that. They can get full credit or 75, 50, 25, or 0 for anything for these different options here. Match, match exactly, include, in between. I don't use short answer very often. You do have to, oh, I didn't notice that either. You have to grade them manually if you do this option. And for me, it gets a little hairy with the match, match exactly, include, and in between, whether they have a capital letter or a lowercase letter, anything like that. Does anybody use short answer? Anybody have any insight on how you feel about short answer questions?
I mean, they were pretty good for us. It's not as, the ability to add those alternate correct answers help, because, you can put 75% or, 0.75, or so
Yeah, good point.
the occasions that, it is appropriate to use short answer, it usually works pretty well.
Awesome. That's good. That's great feedback.
I'm kind of curious if nursing knows they can do that, because, a lot of times they will do math and they'll say, don't add the milligrams or the grams or whatever. The students inevitably do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I know I've heard them talk about going back and having to regrade everything because of that issue.
Right.
It makes me wonder now if they know that they could actually go back in and add, that
Oh.
75, they could put 75 milligrams
Mhm.
the options.
Yeah, we should find out.
Yeah, I will find out, because I'm curious about that. I don't really set up exams, but I hear what they're talking about. And I know that that's been a problem for math before. So I'd be curious to know if they can do that.
Yeah. Let me know if they would like me to help.
Yeah, I'll visit with them about that.
Okay, that sounds good. Kyle, did you have anything?
Similar to what Jen said, I try to build out 3 or 4, sometimes different varieties of the answer so that it has better opportunity to grade it automatically, but
Yeah.
there's still usually an answer that will be graded manually every now and then, so can't completely set it up, but it helps with grading speed, I feel like.
You end up having 15 different options as alternate correct
Right.
answers.
I don't go that deep.
Oops, I didn't click on that.
Let me
Okay.
ask another question, because I know we're talking about quizzes. Is this also an option in testing when you're building a test?
This is it. This is the
You
same
are
thing.
building a test.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's the same exact test builder.
Okay.
I just use it for, you can use it for quizzes, you can use it for assignments, you can use it for exams. It's all the same.
That's good.
And you could also take the opportunity to add feedback. So like if the students do put the milligrams or whatever on the feedback, you'd say, remember the question says do not include, so that's another option too. All right, great. Last one, true, false, the easiest one. There's not a lot of options there. It's either true or false. And I'm surprised there's not an option for feedback on these, to be honest, because I still think that's a great opportunity to give them, like, if the question says never, most of the time it's going to be false.
Maggie, I feel like one way that this could be used based on what somebody else had said is that see your grade as you progress. If there's common mistakes like that, like the milligram thing, rather than letting them, make that mistake 12 times throughout the test, they could see that and get that feedback on the first one that says, remember.
Yeah.
And then they are looking for that the rest of the test and more mindful of it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. for sure. Oh, I guess here's feedback for the answer. Regardless of the response. So if you want to give a little more information, yeah. Okay. Any questions about those before we move on?
I have a quick question that on matching, I get tripped up on sometimes. Like if the answer's the same, you know, I have maybe 5 different objects, but the correct answer might be in different, you know, categories. There might be 3 categories, let's say. I feel like in Blackboard, it's super easy. You can have the same answer, correct match, for several different, you know, times. But on here, sometimes I get tripped up about, you know, if the category is, I don't know, objective, subjective, that kind of thing. And you're trying to say, you know, what is this, you know, the object is an explanation of what you might see in a progress note. It's like when you're trying to use subjective more than once as a correct match. You know,
So I'm actually trying to remember how I made this work because I didn't actually make I'm going to open this real quick. Of course, that's not the one I'm in. In NC 105, the matching portion has one of them that's matched to two answers, or no, one answer matches like 2 objects. So it would be doing exactly what you're saying, but I can't remember how it was done. And without going into that page, I really don't know how they did it. If they just put like 2 days, because the answer is 2 days. And so I don't know if they put it twice in here. So I'm going to have to research that, because this down here says the same thing, like regardless of how many times it's used.
Yeah.
So
I just know occasionally I have like, they've gotten it wrong. But
right.
it's because they've, you know, whatever in the order, it's the right answer, but the system's not recognizing it. So I was just thinking that's one thing that trips me up sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the thing with matching that can be a little tricky, is there's a bunch of different elements to have to line up. And so, gosh dang, I was trying to get into this and I logged in as myself. Hold on one second. I want to look at something. Real quick. So well, actually, it's this one. Let's see if this is right. Maybe. Okay. This is multiple choice, I believe. Test filter. No, this is not multiple choice. Well, I thought I would look at something real quick, but there it is. Okay. So matching. So they have 2 days written there twice. So that's what, and then they have a distractor of the 30 days. And oh my gosh, the amount of emails that I get about that, it's insane. So, yeah, I guess if you have something that matches has a correct answer match, you're just going to put it in there twice and it will show up once, I believe. Let's see. Yep. So I had to work through that to answer my own question. Thank you for giving me that time, guys. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. So I've got some questions in here and I can manage them, like move them around in the section. That doesn't really matter if you're doing randomized. I can move them to other sections. I can also go to edit all points and you can change how many the points are worth or each the question is worth. And then I think this is where I was before. Yes. Just knowing that you can go back in and edit each section after you've created them, and you can tell it to randomize and all of that stuff within the section. And as you can tell, this is an imported section. So that's what we're going to move on to next, if you guys are ready for that. Okay, so Oklahoma Christian University created a Blackboard test generator, and this is the only test generator that we're able to make a zipped file that will go into my NeoShow and be uploaded as an online assignment. So the awesome thing about this generator is that you don't have to have anything created already. You can just go ahead and type it all in right here. It gives you the example of what it should look like. So multiple answer. This one's showing that there's G, E, B, and A are all correct because it has the asterisk next to it. Multiple choice question. You've got three options, and I can zoom in, sorry. I can see it just fine, but it's right in my face. So it's showing you all these different formats to use when you're needing to upload questions and generate. So for true, false, you're just putting the actual answer there, true or false. And you have fill in the blank. So why I'm telling you this, you might have quizzes or tests or assignments that are in a Word document that you would like to generate into something that's auto-graded for you on my NeoShow or just as an online format. And so you can take that Word document and change it to the format that we have that they're requesting here. So most of the time my stuff is multiple choice. So I went through and I let's change this right here. I was like, okay, so my question needs to start with a number, and then I've got my ABC with the closed parenthesis there, then the answers, and then the asterisk is telling me which one is correct. So I just changed all of my questions on my Word document to match that format, which didn't take me very long. And then I copy and then paste it into this right here. And I am going to just keep adding stuff to this so that way it looks like we have a full. You do not have to click any of these things once you copy and pasted your document in here. This is literally just creating a sample question for you. So that's all I'm doing here is just creating a sample question, but I'm also creating a test for us to test in my NeoShow. So I've got a 4-question test here. Oops. And you can tell this is an essay question because there's no actual gradable content here. I'm going to give it a test name, which is May the 4th be with you. Okay. And then we have generate test questions or clear test questions. I have clicked clear test questions accidentally multiple times. So I always do Control A, which is copying all of them, and then Control Copy just before I click anything. That is a little tidbit I recommend for any kind of thing you're putting in any kind of test box on the internet, because we might delete something pretty easily. And we're going to generate the test questions. It's going to tell me with the green that those test questions are generated and they were in the correct format. If it is incorrect format, it will generate the ones that are in the correct format, and it will leave the ones that are incorrect in yellow. So you know which ones you need to fix, and then it will allow you to generate them again if you would like. I also want to let you guys know that I do have this as a handout, so you do not have to remember all of these steps here or take amazing notes. So then we want to download the question pool as a whole because that's going to give us a zipped file. Okay. So now you see here that it downloaded it as a zipped file. Okay, so that's in my downloads. We are ready to go back to my Neoshow. And to find that, or to add that to our test bank, we're going to go to the instructors only page. Okay, and we have this content import option. We're going to go to choose file, and I'm going to go to downloads, and I'm going to go to the May the 4th be with you. And I've got it here. Oops. Okay. Click upload. I might have to bring up my own directions. I don't know the last time I went through these steps. I always choose save the cartridge to your file cabinet, but I think it automatically saves it anyway. So that's kind of handy. Okay. I thought I clicked upload. Didn't I click? Oh, I did. Okay. So then I don't know why I have all this extra stuff here, but I do. Hold on, this is looking way different than my, I don't know why this is here. So I need my manage content and it's not showing up. We're going to try this again. Maybe I needed to have that checked. There we go. You have to have that checked in order for it to go to work. So you need to check the box that says save to the file cabinet. Okay, and then you're going to click manage content. Okay, and then we're going to put a check mark here. And why it doesn't keep the name that we had, I have no idea, because that would make too much sense, I think. I'm going to put it in my file cabinet instead of actually putting it somewhere in my course, because then I know for sure where it's at. And then you can choose which part of your file cabinet. Some people have different folders and stuff in their file cabinet. I'm just going to choose coursework and test. Okay, and then I'm going to click process. And I'm going to deselect it. Okay, now let's see if it worked, right? We're going to go to coursework. We're going to go to add assignment. Actually, sorry, I'm going to go to a test that I already have, so that way I don't have to create an assignment. We're going to go here. We're going to go back into that test builder. maybe. Everybody's on my Neosho right now. As we're waiting, does anybody have any questions about this Blackboard test generator? No? Okay. All right, here we go. Import questions. And we're going to go to tests because that's the folder I put it in. And I always have to go by the date because clearly all of these are the same. And today is May 4th. So I'm going to choose that guy. I'm going to choose the imported section and I'm going to import. One section has been imported and I say, okay. And then we're going to go, why did it not go back? Probably because you can do multiple if you want to. And here it is right here. These are my questions. I can go in, I believe, and change the name of the questions so that way it makes more sense. So if I wanted to put this up here on the label, I can. But so here you see which of the following is a prime number, and it tells us the answer. And they're all there in its own section. And then see, since I added the question to the name or the label, it shows in the list. So pretty easy. And then obviously we need to give it points. None of them have any points. So that would be your next step. But if you are, that's the beauty of already having something typed up, or let's say you had an instructor from somewhere else give you questions that you would like to add to something you already have. You don't have to go into the test builder and add each question individually over and over and over. You can do it just that quick. You can put it in the test generator, create a pool, and import it in a matter of minutes. Has anybody ever used that? No. Are there any questions? Is this something you feel like you would use if you had a Word document or something that you would like to add to your online format? No?
We've just, through a grant, we've just acquired a product called IntelliStem that's going to help us build our own nursing questions at a higher level. And I think that we will have to do this to get those questions from that program to here.
Yeah. So if they give it to you in PDF or Word document or anything like that, we can easily put it into this Blackboard test generator and then upload it.
We're just beginning the process. I mean, we had money left over in a grant, we had to spend it. And so we asked for permission to do this. So we're just at the very beginning stages, but my gut instinct is once we get this rolling, we're probably going to have you come do us a little in-service to help us know how we pull that in. I don't know that nursing is really doing that right now. They may be, but I don't think they are.
Okay. Yeah, no, that is absolutely fine. I'd be more than happy, and I can even help change over to the format that it needs to be in. I've done that for a couple of the adjuncts that were, first when I started and the pandemic hit and everybody was freaking out about having to go from paper to online. I helped transition all of the Word documents and stuff into an online format exam. And a lot of assignments too, because they're used to handing out papers as an assignment to their students. And so now they can just put it in my Neosho and it's auto-graded. So, but yeah, so I'm happy to help in any way, for sure. Okay, so that was importing from already created content. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? Oh, I know. I wanted to show you guys real quick. We only have 9 minutes, but how we can review the exams and tests and assignments or whatever, the online assessment, online assignment. So we have the test analysis. So this can show you, oh, of course it's going to tell me that. I forgot about that. First, you have to make sure your people are graded before you can even do that, because there's nothing to analyze if you don't have anything graded. So I'm going to look at Peter. And something that I like to show everyone is that you can review all of the quiz or all of the assignment on one page. You can expand all of the responses so you can see everything and you can grade everything all at once without having to click to the next page. I think that's really handy. I always like to also like close or collapse the question after I grade it. So I'll give it a 1 out of 1 and then I'll collapse it so it makes my page smaller and it's not as overwhelming. And so that's great. You can also review each question for every student. So if we wanted to grade one question at a time, where is that? Oh, grade by question. So we can grade by question so we can see all of the students for that number one question at the same time and expand all responses again and then grade and collapse. So that is really handy. Do any of you use this option, the grade by one question at a time? Yes, it's handy. Especially if when you do go through the analysis, you find out that one question really was not, this is, I'm gonna have to go to a question or a quiz that actually has stuff graded. I'm sorry. I like finding out which questions, like if my whole class missed that one question, then I know I need to rebuild that question or rewrite it so it makes sense. Let's see here. I really not have anything completed. This is my sandbox, so I'll just go ahead and grade. Give this student a 0 and see if they'll let me. Grade him real quick, so that way we can. Collapsed a couple on me. That does happen. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Sometimes it'll collapse things that you didn't tell it to collapse. And I don't know why it's not grading this. Is it because you didn't take it? Probably. Looks like I'm going to have to bring up a different class. We're running out of time. That's okay. We can look at NC 105. Maybe. So have you guys used this option before? No? Yes?
I've looked at it, but I haven't always done much with it.
Yeah. I'm pretty much the same way. I'm also still trying to figure out the different ways, like what you're looking at with it. but it's something that I know OTA, I believe, uses to go through and see what questions like the students get right, but also like what they chose. So what answer they choose instead of the right answer and stuff like that, so they know how to rewrite their questions. Pam, were you going to say something? I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just saying that nursing does this all the time.
Okay.
And that I think that a lot of times that there are things that nursing would like to have that we don't have with Jinsabar. But nursing goes through and looks at this. Anytime there's a question that 50% or less get right, then they review to make sure it's an okay question. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be eliminated. They just check it to be sure that it's accurate.
Yeah.
Anything 70% or above, then our policy says fix it. So
Yeah, that's good for program review and stuff like that too. See what questions need to be adjusted and stuff. I also feel like you could come over on this page and review it for hours because there's so many different options to look through and click through. Most of the time, I just want to make sure everyone knows it exists. So if your students are struggling with your exams or your assignments and stuff, you can go in and you can look at this and see, is it consistent across the board or is it an isolated student? You know, it's a nice little feature, a little dashboard that we have on the back side. Okay, so this is all I have for us today. Do you guys have any questions or anything that you would like me to follow up with? I have a couple things written down. But do you guys have anything else for me that you would like me to add? No?
my only thing is that we probably are going to need follow-up once we get this other product up and running.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I would love to know what the product is, so I can help with that too if I need to.
I know that initially when we talked with them about the product, they said that they were going to explore what they could do with Jinsabar on their end. And I haven't heard anything from them yet, but we also haven't sent the money yet. You know how that goes. So
Yeah.
that'll be the thing for us. It's just
Okay.
how we integrate the two, because I know in the past nursing has had trouble importing those questions from elsewhere.
Okay. Yep. Just let me know and I'm happy to help. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to post this recording to the instructional support page. And I was going to ask, is it Rachel or Rochelle? How do we say your name so I don't butcher it?
It's Rochelle.
Rochelle. Okay. That's what I thought, but I was like, gotta ask. So has Jen given you all of my information and stuff so you know how to get a hold of me if you need anything? Okay, awesome. And do we need to have a one-on-one or anything to help you with